Right now, the Windows laptop market is undergoing its most radical architectural shift in decades. The underlying hardware powering your PC for years is splintering. For a long time, choosing a PC simply meant picking between two rival brands. But despite the different logos, both options ran by the exact same technical rulebook. Intel set that standard. Their processors built the foundation of x86 computing. While AMD's Ryzen lineup emerged as the primary alternative, it operates on that identical x86 architecture. This x86 monopoly offered Windows users total software certainty, but it eventually hit a structural ceiling. The design simply couldn't scale down power consumption for the battery efficiency users now expect. The catalyst for change came when Apple abandoned x86 processors entirely. They moved their entire Mac lineup to their own custom ARM architecture. The performance of Apple's silicon proved that ARM-based laptops could match the power of traditional PCs while using a fraction of the battery. Now, that shift is hitting the Windows ecosystem. The Qualcomm Snapdragon X Elite represents the first credible attempt to bring that efficiency to PCs. This completely shifts the entire decision-making process. Buying a laptop now requires choosing between two incompatible ways of processing information. Look at these pipelines. The top path represents x86 complex instruction set computing, processing dense, heavy software commands whole. That requires massive electrical power. Compare that to the bottom path, ARM. Its reduced instruction set computing breaks commands into smaller tasks that zip through efficiently. Because individual tasks are simpler, the processor draws significantly less power and generates very little heat. Without that heat, manufacturers can ditch the bulky, noisy cooling fans. They can design incredibly thin laptops that stay silent under load. The practical benefit for you is genuine multi-day battery life, even when you're pushing the hardware. By shifting to ARM, Snapdragon trades the raw, brute force of traditional PCs for a level of mobility and thermal efficiency that x86 can't match. However, there's a massive hurdle. For decades, Windows software has been written exclusively for x86 processors. Early attempts to put Windows on ARM failed because the hardware couldn't bridge this software gap effectively. Modern chips solve this through emulation, an invisible translation layer that converts x86 code into instructions the ARM chip can understand in real time. But that translation creates a bottleneck. This bottleneck requires extra processing power, immediately causing a drop in app performance. Because the chip is working much harder to translate the code, the laptop's battery rapidly depletes. The Snapdragon X Elite handles this translation better than anything before it, but you'll still feel that friction if you rely on niche or legacy enterprise tools. Those multi-day battery promises only hold true if you stay strictly within the ecosystem of native ARM applications. This is exactly why Intel and AMD still dominate high-end computing. Tasks like complex 3D rendering, massive database virtualization, and AAA gaming still require raw graphical and processing power. You also get absolute software certainty. Decades of specialized x86 drivers mean that if a program exists for Windows, it is guaranteed to run flawlessly on Intel or AMD. Manufacturers accommodate this massive power output with thicker chassis designs that can house heavy-duty cooling systems. Choosing x86 means you are sacrificing portability and battery life to ensure you have absolute computational power with zero software limitations. Let's map these architectures to workflows. The horizontal axis measures software compatibility, while the vertical axis tracks battery efficiency. Traditional x86 maximizes raw power, but sits low on portability. Snapdragon ARM pushes to the top of efficiency, but sits lower on compatibility. The ideal ARM user is the road warrior. If you rely on web browsers and native media apps, and you value instant wait capabilities and a light bag above all else, this is your path. The ideal x86 user is the legacy power user. You're a professional or gamer tied to heavy desktop environments and specific, uncompromised workflows. Selecting the right machine comes down to an honest assessment of where your daily software lives on this chart, rather than simply comparing raw benchmark scores. Here is the decision tree. Play high-end games or rely on legacy plugins? If yes, buy an Intel or AMD x86 machine. If no, are thinness and multi-day battery life your top priorities? If yes, the Snapdragon X Elite is the unquestionable choice. ARM-based Windows laptops represent the future of mobile computing. But to adopt them today, you must be ready to leave the legacy x86 safety net behind.